Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 and our chats with Emily as we're calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We're in the Johnson edition. We turn now to poem 758. These saw visions. Now, we have called our series Chats with Emily because, well, for a number of reasons, but one of them has to do with a poem like this. This is one of Emily's most remarkable poems because of the amount of work that the reader has to do to understand exactly what Emily is talking about. In this poem, Emily is helping give instructions to prepare the dead, a young girl who has recently passed. Now, it is, of course, another death poem, and in that regards, this will fall in line with our assumptions that you've been following our stuff at LearnStrong.net. Down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily's our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've worked through a set of introductory comments as well as the preceding 757 poems. We just finished with 757, The Mountain Grows. And if you've done that work, then you will be able to play along with so many of Emily's death poems. Now, as we've pointed out before, Emily, even as early as age 21, was fascinated with the idea of death. She wrote to her pal Jane Humphrey the following, quote, "The other day I tried to think how I should look with my eyes shut and a little white gown on and a snowdrop on my breast, and I fancied I heard the neighbors stealing in so softly to look down on my face, so fast asleep, so still," end quote. And as we've seen in so many of these poems of Emily's, she loves to play around with different facets of death. Here, the game that she'll play, and I think it is in part a game, the game that she will play is for you, the reader, to try and figure out what she's talking about. She says it this way. These saw visions, latched them softly. These held dimples, smoothed them slow. This addressed departing accents, quick, sweet mouth, to miss thee so. This we stroked, unnumbered satin. These we held among our own, fingers of the slim aurora, not so arrogant this noon. These a just that ran to meet us, pearl for stocking, pearl for shoe, paradise, the only palace fit for her reception now. Now notice the immediacy of this poem. Notice now at the end of the poem is set off with dashes on either side. Of course, the first time you read this poem, you're obviously wondering about the antecedent to the pronoun these. These what saw visions, and these what held dimples, and this what addressed departing accents, and then of course it's quick, sweet mouth, and all of a sudden you realize, oh, okay, so these pronouns are addressing parts of a young lady who has already gone to paradise. That is to say, she has died. And in this moment, we realize that what Emily is doing is telling us that as we are moving down this young girl's body, beginning with her eyes, we're being reminded that that corpse was once a living person. And notice, these eyes saw visions. And then notice, latch them softly. You'll remember latch from 609. Close the eyes. These cheeks held dimples. Smooth them slow. This mouth addressed departing accents. Quick, sweet mouth. You'll remember we commented sweet in 113 poems. To miss thee so. And at the end of the first stanza we go, oh, so she's celebrating someone who she knows has passed, and now she is providing this body with a certain kind of gentle understanding of how to prepare for death. Then she'll continue, we stroke. Now, some have commented that maybe here stroked, you'll remember from 187 and 577, some have commented that this stroke could be hair, but probably here we're talking hands, unnumbered satin, these. The idea of the satin here being the clothing that you in other words, you touched her arms or her hands. These fingers we held among our own, the intimacy of the individual who has passed. Fingers, notice mouth and fingers are what she references. It's like the clue she gives for this riddle poem. Fingers of the slim aurora, not so arrogant this noon, her beautiful hands that will never move again. And then finally, she's moved from the head to the extremities of the midsection, and now to the feet. These feet adjust that ran to meet us. And again, some have said that whoever it is that she's talking about must be a younger person, because this younger person ran to, notice it's not ran to meet me, it's ran to meet us. Notice it's we stroked, right? Pearl for stocking, pearl for shoe, paradise, the only palace fit for her reception. Now, of course, we read Paradise, can't help but think of her love of Milton as we do it. In other words, the only place now where there's any need for pearls is in Paradise, borrowing from her favorite book of the Bible, the book of Revelation. What are we going to say as a message of a poem like this? Well, I think that one obvious message is the death of the young is always tragic, and the death need to be fully respected and remembered for what they were and the beauty of what they were. And to be, well, obviously, the directions to act in certain ways and to show respect to the dead is spoken directly to you. This is a riddle poem that requires a bit of second and third reading to understand it. At 3a, well, obviously all the death poems. I mean, she mentions death in 135 of her poems. And in this regards, though, this poem is kind of unique in terms of her death poems. Go back and look at all those other death poems. This is a fascinating death poem because it reminds us that this corpse was once a person. Right? Again, we think of John Donne's Holy Sonnet 10, Death to be Not Proud, as well, because in this poem, obviously, this young lady now is in Paradise, the only palace. Finally, at 3b, how do you deal with the idea of death? And is Emily, in a poem like this, challenging you to give some concern to it? I hope so. Thank you.